Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for watching the show. This is your top human rights organization review. I'm your host, Bryce Dolan. Now, I've recently mentioned that Human Rights Watch has released their 27th edition of the World Report 2017. In this World Report, it has 687 pages that review more than 90 countries and their human rights practices. Now, with the rise of populism, it is important that all countries around the world continue to have good human rights practices, good and legal human rights practices. What is populism? Well, the Executive Director of Human Rights Watch, Kenneth Ross, explains how populism could really negatively affect human rights practices in a number of different countries. How he mentions how it has negatively affected human rights practices and could have a negative effect on human rights practices in the United States with the election of President-elect Donald Trump. Now let's take a look at what the Executive Director of Human Rights Watch has to say.
The rise of populism poses a dangerous threat to human rights. Trump gained power in the United States. Various politicians are seeking power in Europe through making appeals to racism, xenophobia, nativism, and misogyny. They all have in common the claim to speak for the majority and to claim that that majority wants rights violated in the name of securing jobs, or avoiding cultural change, or protecting against terrorism. We've seen this show before. In the last century, various communist and fascist governments also claimed to speak for the majority and then visited enormous repression on their people. Even today, people like President Erdogan in Turkey or President Sisi in Egypt at first had great popularity when Erdogan went against the alleged plotters of the coup or Sisi went against the Muslim Brotherhood. But each took that willingness to violate human rights to great extremes as they suppressed any peaceful protest against their rule. There is this tendency today to think that the strong man delivers best. But if you look at people like Vladimir Putin in Russia or Xi Jinping in China, they increasingly have resorted to repression as their economies have slowed or declined without delivering against corruption, pollution, or arbitrary rule. Many politicians today are responding to this rise of populism by simply putting their head in the sand, hoping that the winds of change will blow over. Others are actually emulating the populists, hoping somehow to preempt them when in fact they're just reinforcing their message. What we need is a real, vigorous reaffirmation of human rights. We need to explain that human rights are the best way to avoid corrupt and arbitrary rule. Human rights are the best way to ensure that a government hears and can respond to the actual needs of its people. And human rights are the best way to actually change government if they stop delivering for their people. Above all, the public needs to reaffirm the basic value that we should treat others the way we want them to treat us. That's the best way to ensure that we all don't end up on the wrong end of the stick when a government abandons its commitment to human rights.
Now, after listening to Mr. Ross, let's take a look at a few numbers from the World Report 2017 that will back up his statements. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to rewatch these videos, read the article yourself, or even look at the 687-page World Report 2017, you can find all of that by clicking on the link below in the description. If you click on the link, it'll take you directly to this article where you can rewatch the videos and read through the article yourself. At the beginning of the article, you'll find a link that will take you to the World Report 2017 report, so you can look through, if you want to, all 687 pages. Now, make sure, ladies and gentlemen, you subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can get notified every time a new video is posted. Make sure you give our Facebook pages a like and follow us on Twitter. But thank you for watching your Top Human Rights Organization review, ladies and gentlemen. I was your host, Bryce Dolan.